Good morning, everyone. I'm Benedikt. I'm a partner with Vsquared, a European deep tech fund, and I'm extremely excited to be here this morning with Ronnie. We've known each other already for quite some time, and it's really exciting, and looking forward to debating more. Ronnie is the founder and CPO of Micropsi Industries. Yeah, and maybe to get started, you can jump right in what Micropsi is actually up to.
Yeah, so we are AI, and we've been doing this for a while. So also, we were AI before the wave. AI for manufacturing. So essentially, we give machines in manufacturing, mostly robots, capabilities that otherwise they wouldn't have with software. So the robot is as dumb as ever, right? Robots just move through trajectories that are predetermined, and adding a piece of software that we created over the last 9 years. Those robots now can do things that previously they couldn't do, meaning they can do things that you needed humans for before. And
to be a little bit more precise, who are your customers? What are the use cases?
So mostly today, unsurprisingly, with this type of application, it's automotive. We didn't plan for that, but it just turns out automotive is the industry that's most sophisticated at just putting up robots. And it's also where the volume is, right? They just buy hundreds of robots every year. We do sell to smaller customers that are just getting started, but just from the dynamics of how this market operates, you end up with a large chunk of what you're doing in automotive. So when I say automotive, it's really the OEMs. These are the most sophisticated users of robots. So if you go to Mercedes, or if you go to Tesla in the US in Fremont, they run our machines and build their cars using our AI. BMW is coming, and then pretty much everybody else, pretty much every brand you've heard of is either evaluating or already using the system. And then the tier ones, so the Magnas and Schaefflers and Lears of this world. And the second attractively growing segment is electronics. We did make the jump to the US, and the regulators have left us alone so far. So we're doing more revenue in the US than in Europe at this point, and one segment that works nicely in the US is electronics. So Amazon is a customer. They make devices, as you know, the Alexa line of things, and these are also now being built or going to be built with Micropsi Industries technology.
So automotive, for an investor, automotive doesn't often sound too appealing. It's hard to crack. How did you end up there?
Yeah, I've always said, right, automotive is unattractive for us as a company because it takes essentially 5 years to sell into these guys, but the 5 years have passed. We've just done it. So we have cracked that. The reason why this is attractive and why we did go there is that once you conquer this, it never goes away. The thing about automotive or actual manufacturing is we go into the core value creation loop of our customers, right? We're not sort of fluff that you can add on and it optimizes a bit and you make some money of it, and then you can take it away, and if it fails, it fails. If our stuff doesn't work, our customer, and this is Mercedes, right, doesn't make product. So even when they're completely convinced that they need us, and we have one case where they say we literally cannot even use humans to make what we're making with your product. This is for a new electrical motor that they'll be launching in 2 years. They need to validate that this technology won't fail. So even if you have a customer that told us 2 years ago, we need you, right? We are going to be your customer. They will need to validate for another 2 years that the technology is reliable enough. And then that is sort of something that's hard to crack and very expensive sales-wise, and it feels like pilot purgatory. I mean, I know that it isn't pilot purgatory. This is not pilots, it's validation. But everybody who looks at our revenues doesn't know that. So it looks tough, but once you've cracked it, it really literally never goes away, because they're not going for the same category of software or product. They're not going to go through this validation sequence with anybody else again. And if you look at how this industry is set up and how some of the German Mittelstand companies that you may be following have defended their business for 60 years, despite doing things that of course can be done cheaper in China. The reason is nobody is buying from China because they need reliability first and foremost. So now that we're sort of in this market, we're essentially on rails for deployments in these industries.
Perhaps slight step change, and you can actually explain what the AI actually does at Micropsi.
Yeah, so robots, as you know, when they do welding and sort of the body shop, they essentially go to a predefined position and then do some work there, like to put the weld spot in. And that works as long as your complete problem is geometrically fully understood. Right? When you know exactly where all the atoms are, you can do work on the atoms by just going to that place. Now that breaks if you're handling something that moves about or is floppy, like a cable. So have a large part of the problem space in manufacturing that you need a human for because you need the hand-eye coordination. Somebody needs to look at where the cable is and how it's been bent, and then pick it up from there, and then do whatever work needs doing. And the capability to do this, to hand-eye coordinate the motions that the robot makes, this is what we add via software to an existing robot platform. You can think of this like a motion intuition, right? When you're playing ping pong, your spine sort of reacts to what your eyes see. And this motion intuition we create from data that the customer records. We transmit the data to the cloud, create what we call a skill, a motion intuition that gets transferred back to the edge device that runs the robot, and then the robot can do it independently.
Okay, but that's important. You sell only software. You do not sell robots, right?
Yeah, the robots are, again, right, if we would be selling robots, we would need to go through a 10 years validation cycle for the robot as well, so we're not doing that. The robot you buy from ABB or KUKA or Fanuc or Universal Robots, whoever your favorite robot manufacturer is, and then we add our AI on an edge device that just sits next to the robot and controls it through the difficult parts of the motion that the robot needs to make. So pure software play with sort of all the attractive software dynamics and margins.
Sounds good to me. But how big can this get from your perspective?
Right. So, I mean, if you do it top down, top down is always huge, but in this case, I mean, it's very credibly really very huge because you can replace a percentage. Nobody knows what the exact percentage is, but a percentage of what's today human labor in manufacturing with this type of software. Given you have the hardware, which is not always the case, right? Sometimes you need fingers, and robots don't have good fingers that are expensive and reliable enough. But everywhere we don't need actual 10 fingers, and you can choose your tool, which is made out of metal and something more specific than our hands. Wherever the problem is just generating the motion, our product can solve, right? So we don't know what the percentage of manual labor that this can replace is, but it's very large. And then if you do it bottom up and just talk to customers, one of our customers recently told me that even today, so not for generation motions, the sort of camera software supplier that they typically buy from has 1,500 applications live. And this is applications, not installations. So every application has something between 2 and 5 instances in the factory. And if you just multiply that with what our sort of average revenue is, then already you get to a very attractive base. For even for the customers we already have, right? We sold the system to 70 to 80 customers, 30 of which have the potential to go into hundreds of applications.
All right. Yeah, I've one more question. Can we can overrun? Yeah. So, what's actually holding you back now from scaling further?
So, speed of deployment. That is essentially the validation cycle that I talked about, and then actually capacity at the customer side, because they need to be sophisticated in deploying robots. So one area where we really need to invest is just working with more partners and also our own training programs to get customers to adopt faster, because currently we're kind of limited by the just amount of time smart people at the customer side have available. You need to be trained to put the robot up. So that's the main sort of stone in our way that we sort of need to solve next.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you very much.